Welcome to HB Reddit Stories. Today we will see stories of r/am I the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for what I said when my parents announced they were having another baby? My parents have 7 kids. There's me, 16M, Kayla, 13F, Robin, 12M, Sam, 10M, Lacey, 8F, Zoe, 6F, and Robbie, 4M. They only ever intended to have 2 kids, and even with me and Kayla alone, they'd still struggle. My parents don't have great jobs. We never had much space in our house to begin with, and now we're all crammed in. I started working at 13 to get money so I could pay for stuff I needed, like a laptop, which I didn't have access to when my school first shut down. We didn't even have internet then. My parents swore they were done with Robbie and they'd get us back on track, and that I wouldn't need to work just to pay for stuff I needed for school. The weight of being the oldest is already a lot, and I have paid for stuff before. I babysit so my parents can work nights or get a break. I take care of the house most days so they can focus on earning money. But it's a lot, and we're really too big of a family for what we can actually afford. My parents get help from the government, but it doesn't go far because they're not good with money or with buying groceries. When no baby came right after Robbie, I thought they were serious, and I started to think about my future. I'd love to learn to cook better and work in a restaurant. Not college exactly, because we could never afford it and my grades aren't good enough, but something. Then Monday my parents sat us down and told us they're having another baby, and mom is like 14 weeks pregnant. They knew for 7 weeks and didn't want to tell us until they were ready. My siblings were mostly surprised, but me? I said not again. I think I even cried a little, which caught me off guard because I'm not a crier usually. This was apparently enough to break me though. My parents got so angry at me and told me to check my attitude. I told them they gave me this attitude by being so reckless and putting so much on me, and now they've broken their promise and we're going to struggle even more than before. They told me to stop acting like they're doing something to me, that accidents happen and they'd never abort, even if they could. They told me to focus on making things okay and less on being so negative. I know people say that having money isn't as important as long as you have a loving family, and maybe that's true for some people. But mine feel like a weight I have to carry and not something I'm blessed with. They're a responsibility on me, a burden really. And maybe that's awful to say, but it's how I really feel. I hate worrying about what'll happen if they can't afford the bills, or if my laptop breaks and I can't afford to fix it or get a new one. Or what if we can't afford food, or we can but I have to pay for groceries instead of save? Am I the a-hole? Top comments. Not the a-hole. This is a no-win situation. You do not have to ever babysit your siblings. That is not your responsibility. But then, if you didn't watch the kids, there would be less money to feed the kids. Essentially, there are 3 parents in this household and 2 of them are acting very irresponsible, which is increasing the workload of parent number 3. You should consider enlisting in the Air Force or the Navy when you are old enough. Even a good line cook won't allow you an income to leave home. So that's a trap where you will still live at home and be pressured to watch the kiddos. Study hard for the ASVAB, get a high score so you can get good training for a skilled job. Then enlist for 4 or 6 years, whatever the minimum is, get out and go into government contracting. There's good money there, and it's fairly safe, in terms of job security. OP replies. The military is not for me. I get that people think it's great, but that would not be a good option for me. Honestly, even without money I won't be staying once I'm old enough to leave. I'd rather be homeless and couch surf and figure something else out. Not the a-hole. Your feelings are perfectly reasonable. You still need to think about your future. Don't let their decision to have another child derail you. Keep saving. Groceries are not your responsibility. OP replies. They're not, but we do need to be able to eat. Not the a-hole. I had a similar reaction when my parents announced they were having number 5. I was the oldest at nearly 15 at that time, and our house had been torn up in a massive renovation. I don't think I cried, but I definitely wasn't happy. It's been 33 years. The house isn't finished, and probably won't be while my parents are alive. I'm child-free, and don't have a close relationship with my parents. My advice: keep working and try to save some of that money. Look into local food banks, diaper banks, and other services. Don't completely discount college, especially if you think your parents can get it together enough to fill out the FAFSA form. Your family probably qualifies for a lot of financial aid, to the point where you may not have to pay much at all. Move out as soon after high school as you are able to do it. Know where your critical documents, SS card, birth certificate, immunization records, etc., are and try to keep them yourself. You really should not move out without them. Not the a-hole. Look after yourself and get out as soon as possible. Are they religious? I know plenty of kids from huge Catholic families with baby boomer parents, mostly with good incomes though, and what has surprised me is how the majority of them have made opposite decisions as adults, small families or no children at all. The pressure of having so many siblings really took the shine off family. Opie replies. Kind of. We never went to church, none of us are baptized, but they were both raised Catholic and hold some of the views still. Like abortion. But they're fine with birth control. They're just too reckless to take it. Auntie, you need to call CPS. Your parents don't have enough money to take care of their kids. You should not be helping. If they can't take care of their kids without your help, then you need to call CPS. What if you or someone else in your family is in an accident, comes down with a medical illness? What will happen then? You need to get help now. If you are struggling now, it can only take a moment before things come crashing down. Please, call CPS. Opie replies. CPS called to us before and set us up with resources. My parents are just really bad with making them work for us. Next story. Am I the a-hole for losing my crap over cookies when my daughter-in-law tossed them out? I am a good baker, I enjoy making sweet treats for everyone to enjoy. My daughter-in-law, Emily, is very health conscious and even more so now that they have 2 kids. She is the type of person who avoids sugars, mostly eats organic, and avoids processed foods. When the grandkids visit, I usually make cookies or something sweet for them to enjoy. Every single time she sees them, she usually goes on about how they are unhealthy. We got into an argument about this a few months ago about not giving the kids junk. I pointed out everything is homemade and I am not only serving them cookies. My son stepped in on this and we compromised that the kids can have 1 cookie when they are here. This was good for a while until yesterday. The kids came over last night and I made a batch of cookies. They were cooling on the rack. Emily and my son decided to chat a bit before heading out. During that time, Emily went into the kitchen and threw away the cookies. When I asked her why she did it, she claimed I was doing me a favor since they are unhealthy. I yelled at her saying that she had no right to throw away food that I had worked hard to make. She got defensive and said she was just trying to help. My son stepped in and told me to calm down, but I was furious. Emily left the room in tears, and now my son is saying I overreacted and should apologize. I told my son that I will not be babysitting until he handles the situation and I will not apologize. Top comments. Not the a-hole. Emily is rude as hell. The occasional cookie or 2 won't kill the kids. Not the a-hole. Yes, parents get to decide how their children eat, and I think other people should respect that, unless it creates a burden, aka, if they want kids to eat vegan, but it is difficult to cook a separate meal, or they want specific foods but are unwilling to pay for those foods. In this case, you could not serve the kids cookies at all, even if you are doing them a favor by babysitting. But you all compromised and agreed the kids could each have a cookie. And your daughter-in-law didn't just decide her kids couldn't have cookies, she threw away cookies for you, that you made, with your own ingredients. You need to be clear with your son, you all agreed to this compromise, and it was incredible rude for your daughter-in-law to throw away your own food in your own home, and there is no excuse for that. Would he be okay with you going into their home and opening up the cupboards and throwing away anything you wanted? No, of course not. If daughter-in-law had decided she didn't want her kids to have cookies, she could have said that. Instead, she destroyed your property. You have nothing to apologize for, you didn't even call her names, you just yelled at her about the exact thing she did wrong. She needs to apologize to you and fully recognize that she drastically overstepped in what is appropriate in someone else's home. She wasn't trying to help, and they both know that, and I wouldn't let them back in my home at all until they could fully appreciate that and apologize. Not the a-hole. How is throwing out food and not an overreaction? Daughter-in-law has a ferociously unhealthy relationship with food if she can't even control her actions around food that doesn't belong to her. Food isn't healthy or unhealthy, it's just food. If she cared so much, she could teach her child about moderation and making choices that are good for their body, rather micromanaging what the people around her consume. You've already come to a reasonable compromise regarding what the children eat while in your home. If the daughter-in-law apologizes for throwing out your food, it is only fair to apologize for raising your voice and/or using unkind words, but she disrespected you in your own home. It's absurd that she thinks you would thank her for it. Not the a-hole what in the world gave Emily the idea she could throw away cookies in someone else's home. She doesn't even have the excuse that she thought they were old or stale or somehow not good to eat, because you said they were on a cooling rack. Emily owes you an apology, because she clearly overstepped in your home. She has a right to say what she wants her kids to eat or not eat, but does not have that right over what you eat and what you have in your kitchen. I'm a baker and this would tick me off something fierce. But, more importantly, you're babysitting, right? It's not just that they're visiting. You're taking care of the kids so your son and daughter-in-law can go out. And of course they're not paying you. So yeah, not the a-hole. You all agreed that one cookie would be alright, and presumably you would give them one from that batch, but your daughter-in-law went and threw them all out. And all that, before she plus your son got to go out, while you did free work for them? The entitlement, it burns. Not the a-hole. If someone came into my home and threw out all the food I had just made, they would not be invited back. Even if you didn't want cookies, others in your home may have wanted some. I grew up with a mom who made everything from scratch. However, she and my dad were so strict about treats that when my sibling and I had access to them, we went bonkers. The initial compromise of one cookie per visit was a good one. Next story. Am I the a-hole for taking my clothes off at the Cheesecake Factory? So me, 23F, and my boyfriend, 24M, were celebrating our 1-year anniversary and went out to dinner to celebrate. My boyfriend planned it as he knows how much I love the Cheesecake Factory. I really love their cheesecake. This becomes important later. Well, everything was going fine and we were having a good time until an elderly man at the next table scooted his chair out just as our server was approaching, causing him to stumble and spill hot coffee on me, down my back. It was obviously burning and startled me, so I instinctively screamed and pulled my shirt up. I'm pretty small-chested, so I don't typically wear a bra, and obviously I wasn't thinking about that when something hot was running down my back burning me, so I basically flashed all those at the tables around us. Yes, I was embarrassed, but at the same time it's just boobs. I pulled my shirt back down right after realizing what happened, but it was up for about 15 seconds. The server apologized over and over, but it wasn't their fault, it was all just an accident. Well, anyway, after this my boyfriend wanted to leave, like immediately leave. He said that I was being overdramatic for the way I reacted in the situation, and maybe I was, but it did startle me really bad and it did burn. He told me I had put on a show for everyone in the restaurant, especially since I screamed when it happened, and that we need to leave. I told him it's not that big a deal and that I really want to stay to get cheesecake because it's my favorite. I eventually even offered to try to get some to go, and he was dead set that we need to leave and didn't understand why I wasn't mortified. We ended up staying, but for the rest of the date he kept saying that the men at tables near us were staring at me and probably thinking about me inappropriately, but I said it wasn't my problem if they're being gross. When we got in the car he told me I ruined our anniversary for making him sit through that and we should have just left, and that he can't believe I would choose a piece of cheesecake over his comfortability. We argued in the car the whole way home about it, and now we haven't spoken at all today. Am I the a-hole? Top comments. Not the a-hole. Whipping off the affected clothes is honestly what you're supposed to do when you get hot liquid on you. You want to get that crap away from your skin as soon as possible. A few seconds can absolutely make the difference between a first and second or second and third degree burn. Nobody tried to call the cops on you for indecent exposure, so clearly everybody else understood that taking your shirt off wasn't inappropriate in context. And frankly, after getting hot coffee spilled on you, you deserved some dang cheesecake. You earned that cheesecake. Not the a-hole, and I would rethink the boyfriend if he cares more about people potentially getting a glimpse of your chest than about the fact that your back was just burned. Edit, honestly he should have tried to get you another shirt to wear. If the restaurant didn't have any of their mech at the store, there are CCF shirts. Maybe one of you had a sweater in the car. Or he might have checked to see if there was a store open nearby to go buy one. He could have been the hero and saved the day. When I was 21, I dated a guy I really cared for. There were signs and red flags throughout, but I chose to ignore them because I loved him. The summer after we began dating, temps in our area rose to 110°F. We were walking and it was hot as hell. I was wearing a tank top with a t-shirt over it, a la early 2000s. I slipped off my t-shirt because I was just sweating through both layers. He snatched it from me, called me a bad woman for trying to put a show on for drivers, and shoved/punched the shirt into my chest. I analyzed that moment over and over because I thought I'd done something wrong. I hadn't. It was hot. He was an insecure a-hole. You had coffee poured down your bank and your BF's reaction was to shame you. Not the a-hole. Edit for spelling because my thumbs can't find buttons. I'm sorry, but I would dump anyone who put their embarrassment over my well-being after having scalding hot coffee dumped on me. Not the a-hole, and consider dating a grown-up. He told me he can't believe I would choose a piece of cheesecake over his comfortability. I mean, he'd rather you get burned by scalding hot coffee than accidentally flash your boobs for a moment. He put his, oh no, boobs, freak out over your well-being. So, there's that. Not the a-hole. Next story. Am I the a-hole for pressing charges even though my parents offered to pay back the money my sister stole within 24 hours? My 24F sister, 26F, called me and asked me if she could stay the week as she missed me and we're both free. I said yes because I did miss her. We're both college students, she's in her final year and I'm in my second year, we live in different states. My sister came down and slept on my couch as I have a one-bedroom apartment. Monday and Tuesday was great, we went out together, did some shopping and had some sisterly time. Wednesday came and I had to go to work. I asked her if she's alright staying in the apartment by herself and she said yes. Whilst on my lunch break, I was searching for my credit card. My backpack has a specific section that's hidden away where I put my valuables in, such as my cell phone, wallet and keys, etc. I searched and my wallet wasn't there. I texted my sister and asked if she'd seen my wallet. She replied no and said she'd look for it. I have Apple Pay so I could still purchase some lunch. I got home, she said she found it on top of my sock drawer. I was suspicious as I went in there yesterday morning and knew it wasn't in there. When I got home I logged into online banking, I saw a total of $1,545.32 been withdrawn across 2 accounts. I had strong suspicions that it was my sister and told her I'm calling the police as someone's withdrawn money from my accounts. It didn't take long for her to confess that she took my wallet and used the money. My sister is a golden child who never in trouble. I was sick and tired of her getting away with everything. Not only that, it's money I can't afford to lose. I told her I'm calling the police and I want to press charges. My sister kept crying, screaming and begging to not call the police as she would have my money in 24 hours time. As I was speaking to the dispatcher on the phone, my sister was trying to grab the phone from my hand. After she failed, she ran to the room, called our parents, and whilst on the phone to 911 my parents were constantly trying to call me. As soon as I hanged up, within 1 second they called back. The dispatcher said they were sending a police officer out to my address. As I hanged up and waited for the dispatcher to arrive, I saw 30 missed calls from my parents. I turned my phone off till the officer got here as they kept calling. The officer arrived and detained my sister. They took down my statement and I showed them my evidence. They said because she stole $1,500 it's a felony and they will be charging her. I called my parents after to explain the situation. They shouted at me down the phone telling me I shouldn't have called the police as they would have paid it back within an hour and that I've ruined her life. Am I the a-hole? Top comments. Not the a-hole, and if she is such a golden child as you say, it is time she learns the world will not bend over backwards for her to get out of trouble for her mistakes. She stole from you, that is a felony and she is going to have to face the consequences for her actions. Your parents saying they would have paid within the hour just prove they are enabling her entitlement and are not willing to make her understand what she did was wrong. This is obviously going to put a strain on your relationship with all of them, but it is a lesson that needed to be enforced. This is not a mistake. Your sister is a thief and a felon. Stealing from family is particularly reprehensible, she knows how it will affect you. Your parents are facilitating. Who knows what else she's done to people who matter less to her than her own sister. She's old enough to understand exactly what she was doing to you. She needs to see some jail time. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, make sure like, comment, share and subscribe the channel HB Reddit Stories.